Hey guys, today I'll be launching this SSTO. Uh, it'll be going to Minmus and landing on Minmus. So I'll just show you the basics. It has this drill at the back here, here. And then in this cargo bay, we have a convertotron, and then there's a radial holding tank somewhere here. And then above that we have a radiator which is just barely peeking out. The main flight will be powered by these 18 Whiplash engines. Um, yeah. You need a lot of engines to power something of this size. It's very finicky on the runway. By the way, remember to retract the landing gear. Alright. And we have an ascent. Right, almost forgot to retract the landing gear there. Even stock KSB does have some pretty good lighting effects. Gonna pitch up to 20 degrees. If we turn on the drag overlay, we can see that there's quite a lot of drag from the wings. That's because they're canted up at a 5-degree angle of attack. There's also a lot of drag from the stuff inside this cargo bay for whatever reason. Yeah, now I'm gonna try to attempt like a cinematic ascent. Alright. Alright, that's it. We're looking good. Look at our Apple axis. It's doing pretty good. The thrust from our engines is rapidly dropping. So we will begin the burn with the mainsail and nerve. We need to pitch up a little bit just to keep ourselves from reaching apoapsis too soon. This mainsail engine will really only be used for the burn up to apoapsis. It'll drain most of our oxidizer up to the 1000 mark, while it'll consume a lot of while the Werner RCS thrusters will consume the rest. They'll actually be consuming around 600 of our oxidizer just from this tank alone by the time we get to Minmus. Those thrusters are very hungry. As our time to apoapsis begins to increase, we will pitch down so that we can slowly get to a prograde attitude. we are pointing fully prograde and burning up to apoapsis. Burning up our apoapsis, 70 kilometers. This plane has quite a lot of drag, even in the upper atmosphere, but we have so much delta V that we can easily handle it. Look at that. At 40 kilometers, our NERV atomic rocket motor is already at 799.8 seconds, which is only 0.2 seconds of specific impulse. Oh crap, put my orbit way too high. Alright. So we will deactivate the main sail engine. The NERV engine will be used for the remainder of this flight to Minmus. I'll just 4 times time warp until we reach our apoapsis. Then I will circularize using the NERV engines. You can see that our periapsis is already at 30 kilometers, so you don't have to do much heavy lifting at apoapsis. Kerbal looks beautiful from low orbit. You can clearly see the contours of the mountains. We turn on our RCS thrusters to align ourselves prograde. I'll just put on some 10x time warp. Those Werner thrusters burn a lot of fuel. Look at that, we're already at only half of our liquid fuel, thanks to this heavy inefficient mammoth engine. Mainsail engine. Oh, we're almost there. Anyway, I'm quite incautious about our use of delta V because even with a perfect profile, we'll still have around 2,000 meters per second of delta V by the time we land on Minmus. We will land vertically and then tip over so that we land on our landing gear, which enables the drill to work into the ground. Alright, we're just gonna point ourselves anti-normal here. And then we're just gonna warp to this point. This craft has a terrible TWR. Terrible TWR to the point where I have to do just 4 times time warp. As I said, I can't fire the main sail engine because I need that fuel for my RCS thrusters. Let's just orient ourselves normal. And then we're gonna perform the rest of the correction burn at the descending node. Oh, by the way, if you're wondering what those random pieces of debris are, a while back I made this SSTO that could bring an orange tank to orbit, but it barely made it there, and then once it brought the orange tank to orbit, it just stayed there as debris. So, yeah. I like 4x time warp because it's just a tad smaller than 5x, and you get to burn your engines and do all sorts of maneuvers. .2 degrees is close enough. Alright, now let's plot a maneuver node. Now, our TWR is too low to complete this maneuver in one burn, so this will just be used as reference. Alright, let's just see how close our intercept should be. Alright, just get it down there. Alright. So if we burn around there, we should get a good intercept. Periapsis looks good. Alright. Now let's warp here. We're just gonna do one long burn. It's gonna be like nearly halfway around our orbit. And if we miss our intercept, like if it's just outside of our Minmus' sphere of influence, we'll just do a quick burn at apoapsis to correct it. Because at apoapsis, our orbital velocity is going to be slow. I'm just going to put on 4x time warp here. know the funny thing with orbits? It takes more delta V to get to a low Kerbal orbit than it does to get from a low Kerbal orbit to a Minmus intercept. So, yeah. It would be nice if there was like a non-physical time warp, but you could still burn your engines. You know, like they had in Kerbal Space Program too. I think there's some mods for that, but I prefer to play stock. Look, our apoapsis just passed 1 megameter. Only got a little more delta V to go. Now this burn is very inefficient, so instead of the 917 meters per then around 900 meters per second it usually costs, it'll cost us around 1,500. Getting a nice apoapsis raise. I have considered just landing on the Mun instead, but even on the Mun my TWR is too low to land safely. Minmus is best since on Minmus my TWR is around 3. Yes, on Minmus it's free. Minmus has only 0.05 Gs of gravity. Getting a weird Mun intercept. Here we go. This is our final burn. There we go. Let's see where our... Alright, 20 kilometers. So we just need to burn a little bit here. I'm just gonna quick save quickly. And let's try it. Alright. That's a nice intercept. That's a good intercept. Why is my periapsis changing? Stop! Alright. Let's warp over here. Minmus is catching up nicely to us. Well, that worked out quite nicely. See, because we have a low TWR, we'll have to start our braking burn as soon as we get inside Minmus's SOI. We can see that our intercept disappears, but in reality it's still there. See? There we go. we're just gonna orient ourselves retrograde. I'm gonna aim to land somewhere on these flats. Right. So the staging doesn't really properly show my TWR. Oh, I forgot to turn off the jet engines. Minmus looking beautiful, and Kerbal looking even more beautiful. And we fire our engines. See, because we have an engineer aboard, since we have an engineer aboard, engineers have this weird thing where if you have an engineer aboard, drills take more ore in, but they also consume more electricity. So in order for our mining processes to be most efficient, we'll have to EVA the engineer out of the craft. We have some crafts on Minmus. Here's the Yeet Master 1. This is the version of the ship that these are actually the same ship. This one is also Yeet Master 1, and this one is also. So we have plenty of Delta V left. Let's see how much oxidizer we have. That's plenty for maneuvers. I'm going to try to land right next to it. There we go, we have an orbit. I'm just gonna quick save, since you can't quick save if your path crosses the surface, because then it thinks you're about to crash. Now, I'm going to land right on the engine bells of the NERV nuclear engines. So those have a pretty low crash tolerance. I'm not sure what it is, but it's like 6 meters per second or something. So just for safety, I'm just gonna land at 4. Normal. Quick saving. Just bringing us our path up. Alright, I'm just gonna point radial out, just so that I can align my path with the Yeet Master 1. That should be enough. Look. There it is. That's our target. Sorry, just orienting myself to be the right way up. We have plenty of Delta V left. I'm gonna try what's known as a constant velocity burn. My version isn't really constant velocity. Alright, we're gonna get down to the final landing approach. It's tilting in weird ways. I honestly just don't know why I decided to use locked camera mode for this. Right, that's better. Now we get the orbital view. Boy, how I love burning unnecessary Delta V. Just gonna point retrograde here. Let's see. Okay, we have 557. altitude looks good. This is getting to be a pretty long video. Oh man, this is a maximum zoom. Is this normal? Alright. Just point yourselves normal. Crap. Alright, we'll just make this landing quick. Here we go, coming in for the final landing approach. Extending landing gear. Alright, orienting to surface. The Kerbals are really enjoying it. I'm just gonna put on 4x time warp. See, there's no shadow. Oh, there's our shadow. Here we go. Here we go. We did it. We've landed the SSTO on Minmus. Alright. Let's start production. EVA our engineer. He won't be contributing to the drill processes. He'll just be going around inspecting the craft. Let's see. Look at our tanks slowly filling up. Alright, look. Our oxidizer tanks are nearly filling up. Here we go. And refueling complete. We have 5,601 meters per second. Now let's just go drive over. Not only are we driving, we're drifting. Isn't that fun? We're rolling. Five meters per second. We're really moving now. Fun fact, 5 meters per second is actually the top speed of the real-life Apollo rover. I don't know what it's called. Yeah, the Lunar Excursion Module. No, that's not. No. The Lunar Roving Module. Yeah, that's what it's called. Turns out that all engines in this game have light effect, depending on your render settings. So you might be wondering, how do I plan to launch this thing? Well, what I'm going to do is, I think I'm just going to drive it up a hill and then light the engine at the top of it. Ooh, a cool rock. Not important for us. Now we're traveling at dangerous velocities. If the back were to drop now, it would destroy our engines. Bruh. Ooh, another cool rock. We can X-ray into Minmus terrain. Hey, I can see it on the horizon. This is going to be the easiest rendezvous and docking approach ever. Well, it might be more harder than that, considering the craft has no docking ports. We're doing big S-turns to bleed off speed. That bled off our speed real quick. Yeah, pro tip for bleeding off speed on Minmus using only your wheel brakes. You can just bonk into another thing to slow yourself down. It's called litho braking. Also useful when trying to slow down from orbital velocity, just use a big string of girder segments. Anyway, let's switch to this guy. Let's quick save first. And yeah, if you don't want to watch me fly him over, to craft, you can stop the video now. Look at that. They're just coming over the horizon. Yeah, I've got plenty of EVA propellant left. there. Well, that's one interesting way to lift a brake. You might be wondering why I used the S3 series tank instead of the Mark III liquid rocket fuel fuselage. Well, because the S3 tank is much more efficient at. The S3 tank is just much more efficient at storing fuel than the Mark III tank. The only benefit for the Mark III tank is that it looks cool, and to that end, I've put on some adapters. Anyway, that's all for this video. So, yeah.